The Joe Rogan Experience.
I'm interested in that. I'm very interested in that. And I'm not saying those people are lying, and I'm not saying that John Mack introduced ideas into their heads. But what I am saying is the real evidence like the video of that thing, whatever the fuck that Tic Tac was, taking off at what they estimate to be thousands of miles an hour instantaneously from a standstill and jetting off to the cat point where they were initially supposed to meet. Like the coordinates that the jets had where they were supposed to scramble to doing this exercise, this fucking Tic Tac went to that spot, almost like to tell you, hey, bitch, I know where you're going. It went from, they tracked it on radar going from 80,000 feet above sea level to 50 in less than a second. These are with no visible propulsion system.
Flipping 180 degrees, which is, physically possible with the technology that we know exists now.
No heat signature.
Right, no propulsion.
No known visible propulsion system. They don't know what the fuck these things are. So if these are super advanced U.S. military craft, wow, holy shit, have they been working? Holy shit, did they create something that defies all known physics that we have today in terms of like what's available for propulsion, because everything else is you got to push something out the back, whether it's flames, and that makes things go fast forward. This is not doing that.
Everyone describes it the same way. Even back in the 50s and 60s, it was all described as similar types of things that would disappear or shoot off.
Yes.
That doesn't seem physically possible. But now, what's so weird about it now, why are like former CIA directors like Brennan, Woolsey, even Obama has like made a joke about like, yes, we don't know what these things are. What do you think it is? Why is the intelligence community coming out and actually like putting their stamp of approval on this when for the last 70 years it's been so under the radar? They've been putting this under wraps, but now they're kind of toying with the idea like we actually don't know what these are. And then they also say, we know that they're not from our military. So they're hinting toward adversaries, right? China, Russia with the hypersonic weapons technology that they're claiming that they can develop weapons 5 to 10 times the speed of sound.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that looks like when you apply it, but that's strange to me that you see this rollout in the mainstream media talking about this now with the disclosures that the Pentagon has put out.
Now, you are a cynical person, especially when it comes to the U.S. military and the intelligence agencies. What's your perspective? Like, I'm sure you're not just saying, oh, well, they're looking out for us.
Yeah.
They want us to know about these amazing things. Like, what's your cynical perspective?
Well, when I look at these things, a lot of these people, I believe these people. And especially watching that documentary, Joe, it was a real mindfuck. And a lot of this is bone-chilling because I believe, especially when 62 people see something or 200 people in Melbourne, Australia, or all of these high-level military people who you could tell are scared shitless recounting what they saw, I believe them. I really do, because it's hard to act, right? But my mind tends to go toward what is physically possible. Is it mass hallucinations? Is it some sort of DMT weapon that can elicit some sort of mass hallucination where people are susceptible to a delusional mindset and told something like you just said? Is it the hypersonic weapons technology? Is it something that is a drone being projected holographically? Is it something that we can explain by the realm of quantum physics that we actually don't understand, like the Schrodinger's cat phenomenon? Like, is there something that is within the realm of physics, but we don't understand and can't comprehend it yet? So that's where my mind goes in terms of what is it? If it is something from another planet, is it holographically like projected onto us? Is that what's happening? But in terms of the intelligence community and people like Marco Rubio with that PBS special that came out, or the 60-minute special, and Marco Rubio at the end of it is just like, we don't know what these are, man. They might not be from our planet. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, one of the most hardcore neoconservatives is going out there and cutely toying with the idea that this could be from another world. And knowing that this has been so under wraps that whatever is happening, and I believe something is happening, has been completely censored and covered up by our government. But now they're coming out and saying it's okay to talk about this. This is no longer some fringe, kooky conspiracy theory. This is happening. Of course, the cynic in me goes to, what better way to kind of pull on our deep-seated psychological fears of something that we can't explain, this kind of supernatural element to whatever's going on. Going back to the UFO lore of everything from X-Files, something that I grew up on, the abyss, like this notion that if there's something greater than our government and our technological capabilities, then we need to kind of like just acquiesce toward our institutions to be like, you just do whatever you need to do, whether that be militarizing space. Like these things are a threat just because they exist and we don't know what they are. So my mind goes to, there's a reason why this rollout is happening, and it's not for the betterment of humanity, and it's not because of the curiosity of these officials in terms of learning or wanting to find out what UFOs are. It's about, going back to what I said before, it's about militarization and Space Force was basically part of the neocon blueprint back from PNAC, the Bush administration, and Trump fulfilled that dream. And I do think that this is part of that. And look, I don't know, but I think that we need to ask questions. Why is our reality being sanitized? Why are things like QAnon being purged from the internet, as ludicrous as it may be? But we're also simultaneously being told that UFOs are something that are real and they're concerning. They're potentially a threat to national security. We don't know what they are. And it's okay to talk about that now. That is a curious thing to me, Joe.
It is curious, and I appreciate your perspective, because I think it's good to look at this from a bunch of different angles, because it's real tempting to say, well, I'm finally at a point in history. It's amazing. I'm here where the government is admitting that there are alien crafts that are off-world vehicles, not from this earth. That was like one of the quotes, that we're admitting that we're being visited. But are we? Because why would the fucking government finally start telling us without motivation, without some sort of end game, without what's in it for them to tell us about these things, unless they're so frequent and so bizarre and so many military people are talking about them that they feel like their back is against the wall and they have to say something about it because otherwise they're going to lose credibility. That there's so many of these things, and there's so many, like the Go Fast video, the FLIR video. There's so many of these encounters that these very reputable people like Commander David Fravor have had with these crafts that behave in a way that is impossible, as far as we know, with any known technology on Earth in 2021. And this is the David Fravor one is from 2004.
What's disturbing about it is no matter what it is, I don't think we're going to find out the truth, and I think it's going to be exploited for certain means that we're not going to know. It's not going to be overt, but there is definitely something going on because it doesn't make sense. And if it's, there's so many people seeing it, shit, this has been going on for 70 years. I mean,
yeah,
that movie, I mean, there's people like every day. One thing that I find really interesting, though, is now everyone has cell phones that film in 4K, Google Earth satellites all over the world that can zoom in on someone walking down the street. So if these things are flying over the ocean, like someone, part of the David Fravor special on 60 Minutes was saying, I saw this shit like this every day. Yeah. That was a literal quote from him. Why are we only seeing these grainy satellite images of these UFOs?
Well, Christopher Mellon, who used to work for the State Department, told me that they have way more shit, way more footage. They're just not releasing it.
But why? Why roll out this one and where it's this grainy filming of a satellite?
They're not rolling it out. It's soldiers, it's sailors, it's fighter pilots, it's people are releasing these videos and photographs. They're leaking them because
how come they're not getting in trouble for like leaking them? Like we had, like this is a whistleblower leaking these.
Because I think it's a different kind of a leak. It's not like they're leaking something the United States is doing, right? They're not like you remember that kid that got arrested for taking a photograph inside of a submarine? Mm-hmm. Remember that? Mm-hmm. That's a different kind of leak, right? You're leaking out U.S. military secrets. This is not a U.S. military secret. This is a strange, unidentified, what they call a UAP now, because UFOs got a bad rap.
Right.
It's like red pill. Got taken over by assholes. So now a lot of these people that have seen these things are frustrated at the lack of transparency. I mean, this is the narrative, right? I don't know if this is true, but my friend Jeremy Corbell, who's been the guy who's released most of these videos, like those pyramid-shaped crafts that they were watching with night vision that were in the middle of the fucking ocean floating around over this destroyer or this aircraft carrier. They don't know what the fuck those things are. These are videos from people that are there. The one that was a transmedium vehicle that was flying over the ocean and then went into the ocean. They don't know what the fuck that is. They filmed that thing with night vision. They don't know what it is, and this was soldiers that were filming it, enlisted people who were filming it, and you could hear them saying like, "What?
Oh
the fuck
yeah,
is it
no,
doing?
they're
It's splashing down. It's in the water now." And then they're like, "Fuck!"
And the water, the whole like
it's wild.
Yeah, the water to air stuff doesn't make sense either without compromising the function of like one or the other. That it's very fascinating. But what I guess my point is, if they're seeing this shit every day, you think that they would try to film it like, not on satellite.
This is what the point. They don't have the ability to film it on satellite. They only have access to their cell phones. They have access. If you're going to leak it,
film it on their cell phone.
But they are filming some of these things, like that one that went into the ocean. That's the best they can do with filming something off of night vision. The ones that were floating around above that UFO or above the aircraft carriers shaped like pyramids. About the Go Fast video. I mean, they're using the cameras that are on these fighter jets that are designed to track enemy craft. And that's what they're designed for. They're locking in on this thing with their tracking systems. This thing's moving at insane rates of speed, and they're following it. This is the best that they have in that application. Now, that doesn't mean that the government doesn't have some satellites that could zoom in on those coordinates and get that thing and get a very detailed, high-resolution video of that. They probably have that. If these things really are real, if they aren't bullshit, if this isn't just some sort of a mass psyop, if that's true, they probably have some really high-resolution shit that will curl your toes. And that's what Christopher Mellon says. But there's no reason for them to release that stuff for two reasons. One, why would they give away the actual capability of these satellites in like an undeniable way? Like if you could see like the fucking bolts on this UFO from however many miles in the sky these satellites are. And then everybody be like, Jesus Christ, like what else are they watching? Right. What else can they see? They can watch you take a shit through your bathroom window. Like, what are they doing? If they can see that, like they can read a license plate from space. That's what's been reported, that it is possible now through these satellites that you can get such a high resolution video that you can clearly see a license plate from space and read it clearly.
There's also something called claytronics, which is like a programmable matter, like microcomputers that can create a holographic cloud. That's actually a tangible hologram. I mean, there's so many things that seems like it's centuries off. This is what they're saying that they're working on, developing, where you can have a series of microcomputers program themselves into different visual entities into one giant hologram.
That was a Spider-Man movie.
Yes, no, I know.
Yeah. The recent Spider-Man movie?
This is crazy shit, man. I mean, Chris Carter, the creator of X-Files, says that he had like a CIA guy like feeding him information for the show. I mean, I do think that art imitates reality in a lot of ways. And when it goes back to the 60-minute special, which was one of the only mainstream institutions that was taking this seriously, my whole thing is like there was no skepticism at all. There was no attempt to debunk these people, which seemed like a change in tone from these institutions. Like, so that like blows my mind. It's like usually you would have people have the debunker, have the guy saying that he saw UFOs. Right. But this one was just like glued in, being like, this is happening.
Well, the New York Times was the first to break it in 2017. That really shifted the perception. When you see the New York Times has an article talking about these unexplained vehicles and taking them seriously, and then interviews with like high-ranking military officials, people from the Pentagon, all that kind of shit. When you see that stuff start to make it into the mainstream, it just changes everything. The New York Times for sure changed everything. That 2017 article changed the people that would never take UFOs seriously. They're seeing that in the New York Times and they're saying like, holy shit, this is in the Times.
Yeah, these are the same people who discredited Dennis Kucinich at the 2007 presidential debate because they were like, you saw a UFO, like you fucking idiot. And that was one of the questions. And he was like, yeah, like I saw a UFO. And it's like, dude.
Yeah.
Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan, all of them saw UFOs too. You know, and it was such a discrediting fringe thing.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I mean it's not at all